We're
What's
live.
up?
We don't do that. We don't do that when we're live.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey Priyanka. It's good
How's
to
it
see you.
going?
It's good. So Priyanka, are you going to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Imagine there's no heaven. No?
No, is this what the calendar invite was for?
You're our Gal Gadot. You got to kick it off.
How do I get off a Zoom call? Guys, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in forever.
I miss you.
Tommy, you go first. How are you doing?
Like, I go in and out of forgetting what's happening. Like my world is so small now that like
Right.
when I force myself to turn off the news and I don't consume like constantly rolling statistics about how awful this is, I can like forget a little bit and just be trapped in my house. But then I remember that like Friday will be 2 weeks without seeing any people I know that aren't my dog or my wife or weirdos at the grocery store. And it's just a strange reality, man.
I know.
Yeah. I sort of feel like that too. I've had like more anxiety over, like everyone's health that I know, everyone's jobs that I know. Like, so I'm like constantly anxious about that. But I feel lucky we're just like cooped up in our house, me and Emily and Leo, who's now looking for some treats. All right, you'll get your treats. But yeah, you do have these moments. Like I went to the Rite Aid near us yesterday, and it opened at 7 a.m. I got there at 6:45. There was a line all around the block. Everyone was 6 feet. Everyone was 6 feet apart. And then as people were going in, like they already ran out of hand sanitizer in the first 5 minutes after they had just restocked it. And people were like starting to get mad at the front of the line. And I just like proclaimed to no one in particular, this is hell. It's like, what is happening to the world
So John's
right now?
losing it.
Yeah,
Got it.
I was just reading though that in India, they just locked down India, like the whole country, 1.34 billion people. They were given 4 hours to prepare for a 21-day lockdown.
Oh my God.
That's fucking
terrible.
crazy.
Which is wild because I think like, I'm trying to think like 2 weeks ago, maybe when we first kind of were like, oh, things are going to shut down, or maybe, I mean, things seem to be getting more serious. The lines at the grocery store were crazy then, and nothing was even shut. Like everything was still open and operating and all of that. So I wonder what those 4 hours must have been like. Crazy.
Yeah. How you doing, Priyanka? How's your apartment?
I'm good. Hold on. I have like a
Yes.
little buddy. This is Ren. She's just my foster because I've realized that I'm actually quite allergic to kids.
No.
But she's really sweet, so it's like totally fine. And I'm like just on a cocktail of allergy medicine, so it's fine for the time being. She's super, super tiny, like really small. So wasn't
She's the
big
cutest.
I know, she's so cute. And she's
we play
really
with her at the
friendly.
office.
Oh my God. If I brought her to the office, she actually would be very friendly with everybody, I feel like.
Hi, Luca.
Oh my God, Luca! We have everybody here. Oh,
Yeah,
I
we
love
all
this.
doggies.
Leo, look who it is. Leo, it's Luca.
Wow,
Doesn't
we
have
need to get
headphones in.
funded on the stream and then we'll be complete.
Thank God for all animals during this time.
I know.
Like,
did you see that
Hannah's
New York?
great.
Did you see that
What's
New
that?
York has run out of dogs to adopt because
To
so many
adopt,
people
yeah,
have
how crazy.
Yeah,
We
because
actually were
everyone's
just
been adopting.
filming for Crooked, actually. We did like it's like a sneak preview, but we did an episode of like, Is That Hope I Feel? Like a little video thing. And we interviewed best friends, like the animal society where that brought in the puppies for our video. That's how I found Ren. That's how Jamie adopted his cat. So we interviewed them about like all the fostering and like how you can do that and whatnot. But it's really, I mean, like the one good thing to come out of right now is that people are kind of stepping up in that way, which is nice.
Yeah. That makes me so happy because I was really worried about shelters closing and people not staffing them.
I know. That was scary news. I love that you've changed your camera angle.
Yeah, you got to show the good looking one.
Okay, so I'll get into all the like, what are you guys up to? What are you watching? All of that. But first, people have a lot of real questions because it turns out that there are not a lot of great messages being sent by leadership of this country. Who would have thought? But first, let's get into COVID policy. People want to know what the latest is with the Senate relief bill. I believe it passed like really late last night, early this morning. What is in there? What do we make of this? Give us the lay of the land here.
So Tommy and I were just talking about this before we started the live stream. It's very much in flux still because when you write the largest stimulus bill in history within a week, that there's quite a few things that you can get wrong, and that more asshole-ish types will try to slip into the bill. So I think that they're working through some of that stuff right now. But I think the headlines are, the original bill that Mitch McConnell introduced was fairly shitty, and it was good that the Democrats fought back and held it up for a while. And I think they did get, look, I think the no bill is going to be perfect, and I think they should still fight like hell to get more in the months ahead. But the Democrats did win some big concessions in this bill. So there's like, they're calling it full paycheck replacement for unemployment insurance. So it's a $600 increase in unemployment insurance, which equates to 100% of wages for the average American without a paycheck, and an additional 13 weeks of unemployment insurance. So basically, if you're laid off during this crisis, you can, for the average American, you could be able to collect up to your full paycheck for an additional 13 weeks of what you usually get for unemployment insurance, which is really good. And they're expanding access so that part-time, self-employed, gig economy workers can get it too. And then the other really big thing that the Democrats got were like $100 billion. I think it's $150 billion for our healthcare system, for hospitals and healthcare workers and supplies and everything that they need. Republicans didn't have that at all in the first bill. And so getting $150 billion for that is really good. And then there's billions and billions of dollars of loans for small businesses to try to incentivize small businesses to keep workers, and to make sure that they don't fire anyone throughout or lay anyone off or even furlough people throughout this crisis. And then there's all sort of the accountability bucket stuff. Like, so any big company that got a loan can't give their CEOs raises. They can't do stock buybacks. The $500 billion what was used to be called a slush fund, or we called it a slush fund before, because Steve Mnuchin got to do whatever he wanted with it. Now there's all kinds of limits on that, so that there's going to be like an inspector general that monitors how the money's given out. It can't go to Trump businesses, and so there's all kinds of limits that were placed on that. And I'm missing. Oh, and then there's like a big state fund too, because a lot of like states are paying for this healthcare crisis and shouldering the burden themselves. And when we passed the Recovery Act back in 2009, we gave a huge pool of money to states, because state governments can really struggle. And so they got a lot of money for states and local governments as well. I think that's everything. Did I miss anything, Tommy?
No, I mean, look, it's definitely like way, way better. And credit to Democrats for fighting, although, introducing a crappy bill and forcing Democrats to fight to make it good or okay is sort of par for the course for McConnell. So yeah, I mean, like some things we'd like to see stronger. So like the stock buyback bans for the companies who get assistance, it's for the term of the government assistance plus 1 year. So I imagine a lot of people would have loved to see them prevented from making stock buybacks for longer, but obviously getting the money out is more important. Schumer talked about how they eliminated the $3 billion bailout for big oil, and they got rid of the like secret bailout provision that would have allowed money to go to these corporations, and then Treasury just got to hide that for 6 months. Schumer seems pretty pleased with the fact that they got Trump to agree not to take any money to his corporations, I think, or anybody federal office holder. The thing that seems to be holding it up right now, and this is literally happening minute by minute, is a bunch of Republican senators are trying to argue that this enhanced unemployment insurance benefit that Democrats fought to get in might be incentive for some workers to leave their jobs. But what doesn't make sense about that is you can't quit your job and then collect unemployment benefits. You have to get fired. So it seems like they're either arguing in bad faith, or they're very stupid, or maybe they're both. But that's a big problem. Bernie Sanders is also saying that unless these Republicans drop their objections to the coronavirus legislation, he's going to hold the entire bill until stronger conditions are imposed on the $500 billion that's going to go to corporations. So, as Jon was saying earlier, like they put in forth some oversight mechanisms and inspector general, other things. Who knows if it'll be sufficient? Probably not. But there's a lot of last minute wrangling happening here.
Oh, I also forgot about the direct payments. So direct cash payments to everyone.
The most important part.
Yeah, originally they had payments in the cash payments in McConnell's bill. Democrats fought to double cash payments from $600 to $1,200 per person, and they added $500 per child. So they added that. But it's interesting. The Democrats were more focused on the expanded unemployment insurance than the cash payments, because their argument is, we have a program for people who lose their jobs right now. Let's just make it as generous and as long as possible so that anyone who loses their job because of this can ride out the crisis, which I think it does make a lot of sense in addition to these cash payments.
Got it. Okay. So we'll know more on that front. Like, do you think matter days, or like how long do you think it'll take for us to figure out like specifics and other things?
I feel like they should have a deal by the end of today, since they basically had a deal last night. And today's the day that everyone's just going to like dig through the bill and find out all the things that they hate.
Yeah. The way these things tend to happen is they'll pass something. I think people will congratulate each other. Some people will be pissed off in the margins, and then reporters and lobbyists and others will dig through it and find pieces that are terrible, and that will happen on both sides, and everyone will get mad at it. But hopefully they'll get something done. And we all should continue to be nervous about the fact that Congress doesn't have any way to vote remotely if members get sick or if they're unable to return to Washington. These old idiots continue to arrogantly refuse to allow for some sort of remote voting provision, which makes me insane.
Got it. Okay. I will ask you more about that and then voting by mail as we go down the list. But the first thing, aside from the relief bill that people wanted to know about, is this Defense Production Act that has been talked about a lot lately. People want to know what the fuck is going on with Trump on the Defense Production Act. Better production and coordination of necessary medical supplies is desperately needed right now. I guess I would just ask you guys if you can first explain what the Defense Production Act is, and then get into like what's happening here or what is not happening.
Sure, I can take this one because I interviewed Susan Rice yesterday for Pod Save the World today, and she is exercised about this issue. You should hear her talk about it. So the Defense Production Act is it's a law that dates back to the 50s, to the Korean War, that allows the federal government to basically take control of certain industries and mandate the production of materials. Previously, it was used to mandate the production of steel so that we can make tanks. And what I think people like Governor Cuomo in New York want to see happen now is for Trump to use the DPA, Defense Production Act, to make a bunch of industries create N95 masks or other materials that keep healthcare workers safe when they're treating patients. And that's not happening. Trump he's taken some steps, but he's never actually used the authority. He's allowed Alex Azar, as HHS secretary, to invoke it if he wants. And instead, we have this patchwork of governors wrestling with each other for really critical stuff like those masks we talked about earlier. They're fighting over respirators. And what you're seeing is like an N95 mask normally goes for 30 cents. Now it's going for like $2 or $3 because California is outbidding New York, who's outbidding the federal government, instead of the federal government coordinating the whole process. So the reason Trump hasn't invoked the DPA and just done this, and by the way, he should have invoked the DPA several months ago and had them making respirators that were ready to go right now. But the reason he hasn't is because a bunch of CEOs cried to his team and said, we don't want to do this. We don't want you to tell us how to operate. And instead, they're trying to lie and pretend that companies are coming to him and they're filling the void and it's all taken care of. But the reality is, like, we're talking about a massive logistical undertaking that requires federal coordination to make it work in 50 states. And we're just nowhere near there yet. And it's just inexcusable. It's an obvious thing for him to do.
Got it. Okay. That's the latest with that. Another upsetting things. Trump's briefing.
That's that.
Yeah, we have like quite the little list to go through today. So Trump's briefings, they're obviously filled with misinformation. More and more people have started to come forward and say like these should not be taken live. I think Sherrod Brown is the latest one that we had on What a Day, basically giving them that quote that like it's totally terrible to take these live. But Dan mentioned asymmetric warfare as a result of Trump controlling the narrative by these daily briefings. How do we like combat just basically like how do you even go up against the president and what he's spreading and the message and the platform that he has? Like, how do we counter that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two questions here. One, what should the media do, and two, what can the rest of us do? Democrats, everyone else who is pissed off about this. There were some signs that maybe this morning that maybe the media is getting tired of this. I think in his briefing yesterday, was it yesterday? I don't know what day it is anymore. CNN and MSNBC both cut away like halfway through, which was a good sign. Only Fox kept it. There's a local NPR station in Seattle. Seattle decided that they're not going to air the briefings anymore because they contain misinformation. And look, it's a public health crisis and lives depend on accurate information. And the president doesn't provide accurate information. And so I think there's definitely like a lot of media stations should just say no. Right? It's not about like, oh, we can't. We have to report on what the president says or not. Like, you don't have to air the briefings. You can report if he said anything that's newsworthy or whatever he said that happens to be true. You can certainly report on that. But you don't need to give him this platform. He's basically turned the briefings into rallies because now he can't do rallies and he just gets to say whatever the fuck he wants. And it's the Trump show every day. But look, media has a lot of, perverse business incentives. And so I don't think we can expect them all to do this, even though we want them to. So then the question is, what can we do? I mean, you look at New York, Andrew Cuomo has been giving briefings every day at 11 a.m. and everyone's covering his briefings. And because, he is sort of a calming force and he has a lot of accurate information and he's a real leader. So, it is possible to sort of steal the spotlight away from Trump on this. And then it's just sort of up to the rest of us to get the accurate information out and to sort of hold Trump accountable for the lies he tells during these briefings. And that's up to the media, and that's also up to all of us, I think.
Yeah, someone actually asked about Cuomo's daily briefings as well, and then wanted to kind of include Joe Biden in the question and was wondering how Biden can utilize Cuomo's newfound popularity and his effectiveness versus Trump. Like, is there a way that, and also, I mean, just what should Joe Biden be doing? Like, what do you think is most effective? Is there a way for him to kind of team up with Andrew Cuomo and other people who are doing a good job on this? Like, what do we think he should be up to at this period of time?
Apologies in advance that my neighbor just decided to turn on his leaf blower. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not.
Can't hear it. Can't hear it.
It reminds me of the time.
There were no leaves on the ground. That makes no sense.
It's an LA thing. It's so annoying. It reminds me of the time, like 3 or 4 months into the company when we didn't have an office yet and we were all working out of John's kitchen and I had to record an interview. So I went over to Lovett's house and I was in his bedroom about to record my end of this thing. I got patched through to this guest and someone turned on John's brother, actually, who was Lovett's neighbor at the time. Their gardener turned on the leaf blower and it might as well have been in the room. So I'm in Lovett's bedroom, fucking putting some comforter over my head. God knows when that thing was washed last to try to do this interview. It was an absolute nightmare. Still have PTSD from it. But you asked about Cuomo. So I think this issue of Trump's briefing is a hard one. Like, it's a time of crisis. What the president says matters and is newsworthy. I do think that he is spewing lies to the point of being dangerous. I mean, someone took some medicine that he recommended and died because of that recommendation. So like, I think we should worry about that. And it's also, you're spinning lies and it's impossible to fact check him in real time. So I think it's a tough debate. And then, on Tuesday, he basically held his normal COVID briefing on Fox News, but Fox News just took away all the actual journalists and replaced them with Fox News sycophants. So we got 2 hours of that bullshit and then the normal briefing, and it's just like a mess. But actually, Biden doing a live stream jointly with Cuomo is a pretty good idea. I mean, Cuomo might not want to do it because it sort of politicizes what I think has been, sort of a state-based factual crisis response, but I think that would be cool. I think the Biden campaign is slowly ramping up. I can't imagine trying to go from primary to general election mode when everyone's working from home, when no one can be around the boss because you need to make sure that no one's getting anyone sick, and you just like don't have the stuff you need in his house. So they're getting there slowly.
Right.
I think so far everyone would say it's probably been insufficient to like be able to match up with Trump, but there's a structural advantage to incumbency there. I mean, like when you're at the White House podium and you have the press there and you have experts there, it's like built in. Like that's one of the things that makes it easier to win as an incumbent. So the Biden people have to get extra creative, have to find ways to get Biden around people so that he can talk to them about what's going on in their lives and not just give speeches. But I think they'll get there. It's just like I have a lot of sympathy for how hard it is.
Yeah, I do too. Like Andrew Cuomo has an official role in this crisis. He's the governor of the state that's at the epicenter. And so he should be on TV every day talking about what he's doing. And that's true for all the other governors, right? Joe Biden, not only does he not have an official role, but he needs to sort of socially isolate and socially distance, as people in his age group should, as most of us should, right? And so it's not like he can be around a bunch of people. There is no campaign right now. Trump's not doing rallies. Biden's not doing rallies. It's irresponsible to do that. So he can't be around a bunch of people. So you're on Biden's campaign team and you got to think, all right, we have a candidate. We don't really have a campaign right now because it's not a campaign in the traditional sense at all. And we have to be at home. And also he doesn't have an official role in this crisis because he's not the vice president. He's not the governor of a state. So what do we do? How do we get attention? And I think it's a real creative challenge. And I agree with Tommy, like they're starting to work through it. I think when they had him at a podium, like giving a speech off a prompter, it probably wasn't great. But today he held a virtual press conference and he answered reporters' questions. And I thought that was pretty good. And he's doing a happy hour tonight.
What?
Yeah, he's doing a virtual happy hour at like 5:30. I forget what
Are you gonna go?
Oh, hey, I wonder if it's a Zoom link.
Do you have plans, Priyanka?
We have a happy hour. The politics team is hosting a happy hour.
I noticed that. It's
Joe
sort of
Biden, come on, run your invites by us. We already planned stuff.
It's not. No, I looked at the times. It's not completely in conflict with our politics happy hour, which is the most important thing. But but I think it overlaps. So he's doing kind of stuff like that, and I think they're just going to try to throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. But look, I'm with.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I'm with Tommy though.
We're doing
I have a lot of sympathy for them. They do need to figure it out. Because this is going to be the reality of the 2020 campaign, which none of us could have imagined a couple weeks ago. So they need to figure it out, but it's going to take them a little time.
Yeah. Before we get back to the rest of the questions we have, I want to talk a little bit about the 2020 campaign and ask you guys, not what the rest of us looks like, because like, how would you know? But also like, how should people be voting and what should we be doing? To me, it doesn't feel like 2020 right now, at least for like the past week and a half, because the focus is so completely, whereas a month ago, 2 months ago, it was completely on the primary. And that was like what we were talking about. That was like the forefront. Obviously right now it's not. What challenges do you think Democrats, Joe Biden presumably, will face kind of as we get closer to the election? And then like what hurdles for voting, kind of specifically voting by mail, like what should we be pushing for? What should we kind of be doing in this time?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in Congress, I think, need to make a big concerted push to get vote by mail nationwide. And they're going to have to, I mean, they really should have gotten that into this bill. I know the Amy Klobuchar tried. A lot of people were lobbying for it, but it didn't happen. So there's allegedly going to be a round 4 of stimulus or response, and we're going to have to try to do it then. But, I don't think we can't reasonably ask people to go to the polls and be in big crowds and feel like they're safe in November. I just don't think that's a reasonable expectation. So we're going to have to address that in some way. And then for the campaigns, I mean, I think you're going to have to completely rethink what it means to run a campaign. I don't think we're going to be knocking on millions of doors. I don't think you're going to have big rallies. I think you're going to have to find ways to bring people together, to really go
virtually.
all in virtually, right? But then also go all in on distributed organizing, which is basically saying, okay, John, you're in charge of your like 30 best friends and you have to organize them. And like you basically become a field organizer. Like we're all going to have to take even more ownership of this thing, and it's going to have to happen sooner. And it's going to be an even bigger lift because we're not gonna be able to go into offices and get trainings and be together. So like the whole thing is gonna transition to a virtual online setting. And it's going to be the weirdest election in history. And I have no idea how it's gonna go. But yeah, there's a lot of work ahead of us on that.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, sorry. You can go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask really quick if you guys could clarify like what the issue with vote by mail is. Because I know some places let you, without any excuses, you can vote. California will mail you a ballot. Every single voter gets one. Is that what they want nationwide, or is like what is what they're asking for?
I think what we need is every single person in America gets mailed a ballot with a stamp on it. I just think that's now what
stamp is key. Absentee ballots don't get stamps, and I've found that annoying for many, many years. But
totally
continue.
no. The federal government should pay for the stamps for these. That seems fairly obvious. Now, what I just said is easier said than done, even if there was the political will to do it and like bipartisan agreement, because elections are run by the individual states. So it's not like you can have a federal law that just says, all right, every state must do this now. You have to incentivize states. You have to give them the money to do it. Dan and I talked about this on the last Pod Save America, but there's all kinds of hurdles to doing this, which is why it needs to start happening as soon as possible if we're going to do it. We can't get to October, realize that, you know, we have a second wave of this pandemic and suddenly say, oh, we got to now all move to vote by mail. It probably will be too late by then. So, you know, I saw Democrats were pushing really hard for vote by mail, universal vote by mail, and voter protections to be in this stimulus. And I saw a lot of people, even progressives and liberals, be like, hey, we agree with that. It's important, but let's do it next time because we just need to get money out the door and this is an emergency. Like, I understand that. And it's like most important to get money in people's pockets right now, but we have to start now to figure out how we're going to be voting in November. Like, we cannot wait until the fall to figure this out. And you're right, like, there's 6 states right now with universal vote by mail: Washington, Colorado, a couple other states that I can't remember right now. Oregon, yeah. And it works. It works fine. They've had it for a while. They have high rates of voter participation because of it. Like, there's no excuse why, if we give them the proper resources, states should have no excuse for being able to mail everyone a ballot with a stamp on it. And we just.
And by the way, we don't know that this would help Democrats. There's a chance that a whole bunch of Republicans would vote. I don't give a shit. We should, you shouldn't die for voting.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that really has been interesting to see, like all those quotes swirling around Twitter where you're like, that great argument you're making there.
People are assholes.
Okay, hold on. Elijah has a follow-up for us. Let's see what it is. Ooh. Can't Dem-controlled swing states like North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan be prioritized? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think you can't prioritize certain states over others just because they happen to be swing states. I think that's probably unfair. No. Elijah just wants like North Carolina to be taken care of.
Rigged. He's rigging it.
All right. Before we get into other things that are happening, I wanted to let everybody on the stream know. Obviously, we talk a lot about coronavirus. We had for the past few weeks, and even before then on What a Day. But recently, Crooked started our coronavirus relief fund. It's at crooked.com/coronavirus. You can contribute to the people and the communities who need extra support right now. Basically, the fund spreads your donations across a bunch of different groups. So I'll read you the list. It's Feeding America, Meals on Wheels, No Kid Hungry, One Fair Wage, National Domestic Workers Alliance, the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation, the CDC Foundation, and Direct Relief. We've raised a bit of money so far. It's exciting. And it's just, I think personally, like, I mean, I work here, but even if I didn't, it's a really easy, efficient way to kind of like be like, holy shit, this is, if I'm panicking and I'm healthy, I'm in my house, I'm safe, I'm obviously at work right now, like I'm relatively okay, and I'm still like, shit, I'm anxious, like, and want to do something, what can I do? This is a really easy way to help a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. So just wanted to put that plug out there.
Yes, great plug.
Great plug.
Thank you. All right, so let's get into other things that are happening really quick before we get into the fun stuff. Kirsten says, I want you guys to talk about some of the things that aren't getting covered as much because of this virus, which is literally anything.
Everything, yeah.
Everything. the legality of Meadows on double duty, Burr selling stock, like what? let's just chit chat about absolutely everything else that is happening right now.
I do think Richard Burr is one of the biggest villains of this story. It's such a monumental asshole and scumbag that it should be really remarked upon. So just so people who are at home know, Richard Burr, Republican senator from North Carolina, fairly like thought of as a relatively moderate, like serious individual. He's the chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. He was getting the classified briefings on the coronavirus and how bad it was going to be. And he did not go out and warn his constituents about the threat. He didn't call out Trump for the shitty response. He sold like $1.5 million worth of stock. He dumped all his stock before the market crashed. So his decision was to cover his own ass, his own nest egg, and basically hang everybody else out to dry. And it's just one of the gross.
Who did it, right? Like, who is the other one?
Kelly Loeffler did it.
Kelly Loeffler in Georgia also did it, but she was even worse because her husband works for the stock exchange. He dumped his stock too, and she bought like teleconference stock. So she was really playing both sides of this thing. She had puts and calls. But you know, he will likely be investigated under a law called the Stock Act. I think people who do these sorts of things should see jail time. I mean, that's some pretty serious white collar crime. Yeah. If a stockbroker had information like that and traded on private information, you would go to jail.
Martha Stewart went to prison for that. So
Martha Stewart.
Sorry.
It's also there's a larger political outrage here, which is, you know, there was a story that how you know, Trump shut down 6 of his 7 hotels when he found out that the crisis, the pandemic was upon us. And it's like there is a pattern here of Republicans downplaying the crisis to the public because Trump wanted to downplay the crisis to the public because all he cares about is getting reelected in his own poll numbers, but then privately taking steps to either protect themselves, protect their finances, or in Burr's case and Loeffler's case, profit off the crisis. Even as they were telling the public, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. It is the most disgusting thing I could possibly imagine to do during a global pandemic that is killing hundreds of Americans already.
Completely. Yeah, I hope that, I mean, obviously right now, in my opinion, all the main messaging that we should be hearing is like, what do you do? This is a crisis. But like, I hope that does become messaging that we hear more regularly, especially as we get closer to November, because everything that we knew about voters up until now says that like, that's not the type of stuff that they like, right? Like,
yeah, and there's polling out of North Carolina that shows like half the state wants Richard Burr to resign. Yeah, so people are pissed.
It's good.
Even Republicans are pissed. I mean, look how these guys are acting. I know we weren't supposed to talk about coronavirus, but like Richard Burr's dumping stock, like fucking Rand Paul's like swimming in the pool and like, you know, spitting water on his old ass colleagues. Like these guys need to get it together. The lack of seriousness with which they took this pandemic was first and foremost in the White House, but also like throughout the Republican Party.
Yeah, feels like we should DM them all the explainers and infographics we've been making for weeks.
Yeah.
I'll work on that. Let's see if we can send some DMs. But we've made it to the fun portion, you guys. Congrats.
All right.
We survived.
We survived. All right. First, Elijah wants you to show us your pets.
Oh, Leo left. Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, Luca bailed on me.
What?
While John goes, I want to ask you, Priyanka, how are you getting exercise?
Oh my God, guys. Okay, well, I take a walk every day, try to like make some outside time for myself, which is just like nice. And I catch up on my podcasts. I actually like, maybe this is crazy because this is like week 2, but I'm like, oh wow, like I hear all my good pals, JJT, Akila, Gideon. It's almost like I'm at the office, which is really sad. But I think that is like in a way for people too. But also I'm getting kind of into dance cardio, which you can like do in your house. Yeah, just like little videos. It's like kind of fun to do. What are you guys doing?
Hannah's been doing these like YouTube exercise videos and things, and I'll walk into our living room and she'll be on the ground like doing some like leg lift thing, and Luca is so confused by it and just licks her through the duration. Oh, there she is. Bring the puppy. Everyone wants to see the puppy. Sure. But yeah, I one of my last minute purchases was some weights. So I have a few weights that allow me to do that. But then I actually ran by John the other day.
It was the saddest, weirdest moment that I have not seen Tommy in person in like over a week. And I'm just like went out for a run down the street. I'm like running. All of a sudden I see Tommy run by me and I was like, hi.
And we're both like, they're 6 feet.
Oh my God. Wait, that's so funny and so sad.
I know, but I've been trying to like go for a run in the morning and then come back, and I bought some weights too. And although it's really funny because now I like work out in my backyard, and Leo sees me working out and he thinks it's like playtime, so he gets the tennis ball and drops it next to me and the weights, and like while I'm working out I just have to keep throwing the ball for Leo. So
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Very good. I know that you guys know that Crooked is now doing some fun Instagram lives, and I mean, I actually was asked to pitch that we have one coming up at 2, so go check out Crooked on Instagram. But maybe we do like a workout. Every single fitness influencer is doing workouts on Instagram Live. Maybe that's our new thing.
I think we need to get Lovett with his weighted vest.
Okay,
yeah, Lovett has a weighted vest.
What's the deal with the weighted vest? Is he just walking around with it on?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. If anyone left us can spot Lovett in a weighted vest, please take a picture and send it around on Twitter.
Oh my God! Wow.
But you get I will send you a special prize if you can send me a picture of Lovett with a weighted vest caught in the wild in Los Angeles.
Oh my God! What's Lovett doing now that Starbucks isn't open? I didn't even think
you can
about
still
that.
get so that you can still do drive-through, or you can do pickup. The Starbucks drive-through by our office is still around.
Okay, good to know. I'm glad. I hadn't checked up on him on that. That just occurred to me. Okay, what is your favorite social distancing snack? Can you bring the snack to the stream? You don't have to bring the snack to the stream, but what are you guys eating?
Cheese crisps. Lots of cheese.
Yeah, we've been eating some cheese. You know, the one thing like that's been good for my health and for my well-being through this thing is I've been cooking way more. Is you take these huge trips to the grocery store. I got nothing but time. So I made like some really good. So I'll put this recipe somewhere. I made these really good pork tacos.
You're on Instagram Live, Tommy. I just nominated you. You're the new AOC. You're gonna just cook.
God.
I made these good pork tacos. The problem is it's in a slow cooker, so it's like 8 hours of nothing.
Oh wow, we'll sit with you for 8 hours on Instagram.
But it was really good.
What else are we doing?
My super nice neighbor. We have these great neighbors. And they know somebody who like is somehow connected with like local farmers and stuff who like don't have any place to sell stuff right now. So like they bought a box of veggies and we did one of those. So now like I have to figure out how to cook a radish, but like now that's in my fridge. So like we're actually eating healthier, I think, because we're not like eating out and Postmating all the time. But look, I'm slinging down wine like it's my job. You know, we're drinking like the world is ending over here.
We are Postmates. We're doing Postmates all the time. They drop it off at your front door. You grab the bag, you throw the bag away, you throw all the wrappings away, you Lysol everything else, you wash your hands, you eat your Postmates. That's what we do.
Wow.
I individually like wipe down every grocery item before it goes in the house.
Yeah, me too.
Wow. You guys are a lot more diligent than I am. I should probably be doing that. Oh, wow. Elijah asked, sure, you love the economy, but would you die for the economy? Question mark.
I mean, that's what the Republicans want. They're doing a little light eugenics these days. They're pretty into it.
Okay, wait. You guys, we haven't talked about this in person because obviously we haven't seen each other. Your pictures as 12-year-olds. How adorable. John.
Chonk.
Emily has been looking for an excuse to do that for so long. And when she saw that Tommy said he was going to do it, she's like, can I post? And I'm like, no, you can't. And she's like, I just did.
It's such a sweet picture. For everyone on the stream who doesn't know, you guys did an ad about cereal on, I think, Monday's pod, right?
Yeah.
You talked about how much you loved cereal as like 12-year-olds, and you just made mentions of how you looked at age 12. And I was like, I think those are photos all of us are going to need to see. So you can find those on Twitter.
Priyanka.
There we go.
Hold on, I'll show you, Emily.
How about
filter on Snapchat and just put it like right on yourself? That's exactly what you look like.
Same haircut, same chonker.
Wait, here, I'll show you the bad one.
See, but I had a cute phase where I was more like normal size, and then something happened.
The cereal happened.
Some gulp food.
It was bad. The whole thing was bad.
It's so funny.
Didn't do a lot of dating for a while, but here we are.
I mean, you were 12. Okay, but while Jon pulls that up, how does it feel?
Look at those shorts.
The shorts, the amount of material in the shorts, I will never get over it. Like, is it a 90s thing? Did you just buy, was that a hand-me-down?
This was me in 6th grade. 6th grade was definitely my low point. I got a little better after that. And this was me and Andy at Disney World.
That one was so sweet.
I was a bit of a chubby kid.
Jon, was it Nick Morrow, one of our friends in DC, who said that Andy dressed like he does currently?
Yes.
Nick's like, I'm a fashionable gay in DC, and I dress like Andy did in 6th grade. So
that's about right.
Okay, how does it feel to be running Pod Save America from your kitchen table again? Isn't that how it all started? Is this like a return to our roots here?
Yeah,
a little bit. It's actually been not thanks to the PSA team, Michael and Jordan and Elijah and Yale and Kyle and the whole gang. They made the setup work so well when we did it remotely that it actually hasn't been that bad at all. And the Zoom thing has been fine. And I mostly just miss everyone,
Yeah, I miss everyone too. And Charlotte and Andrew. I mean, so many great people. We were anxious and paranoid about how we would continue this company pretty early on. So our crew went out and they bought a bunch of these recorders that allow us to do this remotely. So we connect on Zoom. Yeah, we connect on Zoom. We talk into these things, and then the editor just puts all the files together as if you're in the same room, which is different tracks, and you can just edit it normally. But you really do miss being in the same room and seeing sort of stop start cues, facial, it's harder to communicate well, but it's doable.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. Are Hannah and Emily ready to kill you both yet?
Getting there.
Yeah. It's
I've made it really accommodating right now and is taking her calls in her room while I do this out here. This is better.
Yeah, I have to say, we've gotten along incredibly well, considering that we've only hung out with each other for 2 weeks and had no breaks from each other. So I think that's a good sign. And also I think the dog helps a lot. But it is weird to think that come Friday, I will not have seen other people in a social setting at all for 2 weeks.
It's weird. Although, is everyone doing their Zoom cocktail hours?
Yeah, wait. I feel like I've been getting FaceTimes. I've been scheduling out okay, weekend. I know I'm FaceTiming with all my friends. Are you guys doing the same? Are you?
Yes, Saturday night I did 3 in a row after not having seen anyone for a while. All of our friends from LA, and then my high school friends who I hadn't talked to in a long time, and then my brother and sister-in-law. Well, yeah, right. But yeah, so those are fun. It's another excuse to drink. Not we need one right now.
I know this is serious and I never treated it otherwise, but that first weekend did have a bit of a snow day feel to it. It was oh, we're all in this together. It's awful, blah, blah, blah. But hey, let's make the best of it. And FaceTime everybody. And I feel I'm riding a bit of a low today of holy shit, another day of this. And it'll get, it could be a lot worse for us. But I do think I'm going to have to continue to remind myself to make those FaceTime dates and things, or else all of a sudden I won't see anybody for a month.
Yeah, that would not be, don't do that. Okay. Elijah wants everyone to like the stream, subscribe to our channel as we keep making fun things like this. And then let's see. We kind of answered, what else are you guys doing to keep busy? You're cooking, you're working out. anything else that's fun? What are you guys like watching or reading, or I don't know what else? What else?
Trying to practice guitar a lot, make myself do it every day. Because if you can't do that when you have nowhere to go, then you're an idiot. Talking about me. I've been trying to. I've had a hard time like letting my brain escape in TV. I just don't know why. Like I just can't turn it off. I can't calm down. So I've been reading a ton instead, and that's helped.
Hmm.
I've been trying to play the piano more. And I've had the same problem as you, Tommy. Like every night after I like shut down from work, we try to watch TV, but I find myself, I mean, I guess that was my problem before this, but even more so now, I like find myself on Twitter trying to catch up on some of the latest news, and then I'm like anxious about it all. And I need to find a way to escape a little bit more. Emily and I have been trying to like, it's 6 o'clock, you know, when it seems like the workday is done, to like go and take a walk around the neighborhood just to get out. Yeah. And take Leo for a walk. So I've been trying to do that too.
Priyanka, have you watched that like Tiger show on Netflix?
Oh my God, the Tiger show is crazy.
It's weird. We started, I don't know if I started watching it and I was like, I don't know about this. And then it got sort of weirder. And so we haven't been into it that much.
Oh my God. So, it's nuts, John. Like episode like 4, they like drop like bombs as like the series progresses, and you're like, wait a minute, what? Like it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Spoiler alert: Joe Exotic did run for president in 2016. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
That's not that.
I'm on like episode 5. That wasn't a main plot point, but I was like, of course you were in the mix. That makes 100% sense, actually.
Double spoiler alert. Like episode 1, I don't know. I was like, big cats in cages make me sad. So like, I really didn't like that. And then someone just gets their fucking arm ripped off in episode 2. I said spoiler alert. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't relaxing. This is awful. She comes
back to work there and you're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
It's
crazy. I also
is he a country star?
I don't know if he's a star per se, but he is.
That's a loose definition of star.
Star.
Wait, but you guys are playing music. You guys should do like a Zoom. I don't know how that works with like the Zoom sync, but like you guys should try to do like a little, I don't know, you guys should play together.
A Zoom cert, we'll do it.
Like we've played at weddings before, so we're in high gym.
A Zoom band. Love it. Okay, last question. How are Tommy and Jon doing in a post-Brady Patriots world?
Who would have thought who would have thought that Tom Brady leaving the Patriots would be something that it was like on a list of 100 news items, almost at 100.
Right.
I would not have thought that.
It felt like it got buried in avalanche, to be honest.
Totally. I mean, he also did it on St. Patty's Day to Boston, which is like kind of a weird move. But look, Boston sports fans, we've had the best 20 years in the history of any city ever. I've known for a long time that we're spoiled. We had the best quarterback in the history of the game on our team for like decades. And it sucks that he's gone, but like I don't think there's going to be an NFL season personally. So I'm not that broken up about it.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's like a very good note to end on. Like, we're not actually that sad. We're doing fine. We're great.
We're doing fine. We're doing fine. Good luck, Tampa Bay.
Okay, cool. Well, it was good talking to you guys and seeing your
faces. Too.
And hopefully we get to do more of these Q&As. They're fun.
Yeah, I love your bar cart.
Thank you. It's actually not getting like a ton of use yet.
I'm gonna eat my Postmated sweet green salad. This is my lunch.
There you go.
Delicious. I have to get my avocado toast. My cat has now fallen asleep. She was trying to lunge for it before, so I moved it. But now I get to eat it, which should be great.
That's nice.
All right, guys.
Have a good
Bye, Priyanka.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.